Welcome back to Cam and Joe podcast, episode 10.
Yeah, Big 10, dude. We're double digits now, dude. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, you too. So did you feel like we make it to 10 already? Like, it doesn't feel like it's been 10 plus weeks already.
It's crazy. It's like, I feel like we've been doing it longer. It's like such a regular thing, you know? Like, I'm excited to get to 100, but it's cool. Once you get to, there's like some milestones, I think, on like Anchor, and we're almost at our listening point where we can have branding, like sponsorship and stuff, which will be super neat. Speaking of sponsors, really quick, GetRichRetire.com, your source for rich guy lifestyle and passive income creation. Unsold Yachts, that's in the works, but that's definitely a good brand. And then Guinness, unofficial but current drink choice of Cameron today.
Celebrating a little Veterans Day early, so I don't want everyone to think I'm an alkie. I drink like one beer a week, and I'm just like, I'll drink it on the podcast because why not, right? This
It's
is like
that picture where
hanging out with Joe and get to actually it's like hanging out having a beer. So
yeah, it's like that photo with it's like the doctor said only one glass of wine a day, and it's like a glass of wine that can hold like an entire bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's only one glass.
Heck yeah. So today we're going to be talking about energy workers, and this covers kind of like a lot of different types, like Reiki or like biofeedback. I don't know, Joe, if you know any other, I guess, types of energy work that you've had done or that you know exist.
Or neurofeedback. I think biofeedback you're talking about is slightly different, but I can talk about a similar thing that I've done called neurofeedback as well. And then I've done energy work too that I don't even know what it's called. It's just like where someone connects with you and tries to like heal your like whatever, which is cool.
Yeah, and I've had energy work done too several times. So today we're just going to kind of discuss like our experiences, because I think there's a lot of people who are interested in this kind of stuff, but maybe are hesitant or have questions or, or wondering like, does that actually work? So I don't know, Joe, if you want to start and share, your experience and kind of what made you want to go try to have that work done.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So I have this friend, her name's Christina. She's an energy worker. So she has like a corporate job, kind of like we do, but she's got like this passion. And so she started getting into energy work, and it was like early in her, when it was more of a side hustle. I think she does it almost full time now. Anyway, hey, I want to work with more guys. I'd love to offer you, some sessions for free, if you'd be open to it. And I'm like, listen, I'll try it, but I'm going to let you know right now, I'm the biggest skeptic in the world. So, and she's like, that's great. So anyway, fast forward, we do a session, and she was able to like something that I'd never verbalized to anyone. It's not like something that's traumatic. It was like my opinion of someone close to me, and that I would like never tell anyone because it was like kind of brutal. And she was like, this is because you feel XYZ about so-and-so. And I was like, what the F? Like, and then I was like, okay, there's probably something. And so I started taking it more seriously. Fast forward, I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. And by far the most, like, I've paid for coaches, thousands of dollars and systems and courses and all this shit. By far the most improvement I've ever made in my like psychology, my success, all the shit. Like I feel like I'm a completely different person since the beginning of that. So I don't know what type of energy feedback it's called, but it's like they connect with you and you ask like questions. So it's like, what's blocking Joe from being more successful? Is it in the root? Is it in the sacral? Is it in the whatever? Finding out like what chakra it's in, and then which side of your family, so father side, mother side, and then how far back it goes, because the theory is you're inheriting this energy from generational energy, right? Like it's in our DNA, and it seeks to just essentially clear those blockers, and a lot of it's not our fault because of that. And some stuff is our fault, but most of the time it's like past life when like someone like had something bad happen to them, and then they became like fearful or some other thing. So it's super freaking cool. I'm a huge believer in it.
Did you have any, for maybe people who might be nervous to try this because they're worried that like, you know, if somebody's connecting with you at that level, like it's a very personal experience, right? Like, did you have any hesitations and kind of how you overcame those to try it?
My hesitation was just like, I literally was like, this is stupid. And then it's not like I've done like tarot and just kind of more of that like hokey psychic stuff. And it was like a whole nother, it was like the intention was super pure. And it was like very like, wow, I can't believe you know that. And then just seeing how good I felt clearing these things. It wasn't a fear thing. It was actually just like this isn't going to work. And even me thinking it wasn't going to work, it did work. I mean, I think there was a buy-in moment, I think. But I think the biggest thing is like people are like, well, what are other people going to think? Or like, that's dumb. But it's like, dude, like if you want to be successful, you should be willing to do whatever it takes. Like I always kid that like I would eat like a spoonful of dog shit every day. Like if someone was like, that's how you get successful, I'd be like, cool, I'm eating dog shit every day. Like if they could prove to me that it worked or I saw it worked, I'm eating dog shit. So shit, I can sit, you know, and work with someone for an hour every week, every other week. So yeah.
I like that take on it because like you said, if you've tried other things that are not working for you, haven't had success, why not be open to trying something else? So I'm in a similar boat. It's been a little over 2 years or so since I've gone. I probably had 20 sessions with the gal that I work with. Her name is Jolene. She's in Arizona. She's like amazing, incredible. It's really hard to kind of describe what they do to like in a sentence or so, but basically like the first time that I had a session, I didn't know what to expect. It was kind of like nervous, right? Like, you know, is she going to like see into my soul and know all my dark secrets and type of thing, right? Because I'm sure everyone has stuff in their past that they're like embarrassed about or, you know, not comfortable talking about. But the first session was just like sitting opposite each other and almost how you would do like therapy. And I've been to therapy when I was a kid, like family counseling and stuff. My parents were trying to work like, you know, on their divorce, that sort of thing. And like you said, Joe, 100%, one session of this was improved so many things so much faster than like years of doing therapy or other things. So I think for people who are maybe feel stuck or haven't tried, like you should definitely seek this out and try it. But the first thing within like 5 minutes, I felt completely at ease. She made me feel so comfortable and it just felt a relaxing environment. And even if you were skeptical, like I'm very open to this kind of stuff, but even me, I was like not knowing what to expect. And she literally was just like, oh, I'm sensing like this part of your energy field, like in your knee, you had like an injury when you were 8 years old or whatever. Like, I don't remember the specific examples that we did for these, but she would say that. And then I think back and I'd be like, oh yeah, when I was a kid, like this happened. I did have this injury there. And she's like, yeah, you may have like healed physically from it, but energetically you still have like damage and blockages there. And it's affecting other parts of your body. And she would just be like, do you want to get rid of that energy? I'm like, heck yeah. And literally she would just like, you know, I can't even describe, like, you know, she's not touching you or anything. She's just sitting there like tapped into your energy and just removing those things. And for me, there was a lot of physical problems I had from the Army, like being banged up. She saw like all that stuff, a lot of head trauma. Like I had concussions playing football in high school, concussions in the Army, like when I was in airborne school and other things. And she was able to clean all that up, like be very sore, achy, like joints getting out of bed every day, all gone, nothing. Because I had bladder problems where I couldn't like go through the night without having to get up to go pee. And, you know, being in your 30s, like those are problems you shouldn't be having, but clear that up completely. Used to have like IBS. And now it's like so rare that I would ever, probably TMI for people, but like, you know, get like diarrhea. This basically doesn't happen anymore ever. So wow. A lot of things like that. My eyes are very sensitive to light, or they were, and I don't know. I have like green eyes, and I've heard like lighter eye colors, you have that problem, but mine's like extreme. Like if I go outside and the sun's out and I don't have sunglasses on, I'd be like, I can't even see or drive without sunglasses. She fixed all of that. And some of the stuff is the weirdest things. Like you said, it's like this thing in your generations or your family goes back like 30 years on your dad's side that has nothing to do with you or any of this is causing this issue. which is affecting that, which is making your eyes sensitive. And you're just like, what? And then it's like, yeah, get some basil oil, essential oil, put a drop on the back of your hand, and then rub your hand on the small of your back. Like put the essential oil on the small of your back on your skin. And I did that for 2 weeks, and my eyes aren't sensitive to light anymore. It's just like, what? Okay,
That's
this
so
sounds
random.
weird.
Why would
and
that
you do
area
it, and it
have
works.
any effect on that?
And she would explain, I don't remember exactly for that specific situation, but she'd be like, this essential oil affects that part of your body and your energy. So it's crazy. It's like, and when you start diving deep into it, when you get sick, it's because your energy in your body is trapped or not flowing properly. Same thing if you get cancers. Part of your body, the energy has been blocked there a long time, and your cells start getting damaged and that sort of thing. So
It's
all
so
these things
random.
can be fixed by having that stuff done. And I know it sounds like, out there or whatever, but it's not scary at all. She made me feel completely comfortable. And I would always feel good after going. Some of these things just feel like this weight's lifted off you. Like you were saying, Joe, with examples of things in your family and generations, stuff that happened in the past. Like maybe someone in my dad's side, like years, decades, or like lifetimes ago, got like fired from their job or something, right? So now they feel like they're not good enough. Well, when you're born, that is literally passed down to you in your subconscious that like you don't feel good enough, and it affects everything you do in life. You have no idea that's even happening, and having that stuff removed. So
It's the cells have a consciousness is what it is. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm glad
okay.
you brought that up. It's like if we're made up of all of these cells, they make up our being, our consciousness. Each cell has a consciousness. So if we're like a bukkake of our parents' cells, essentially, right? You're going to
interesting
get
choice of words.
it's more of like a blender, like two people put their cells in a blender and then you're like, here you go. Here's what you got. Like what's those families like? One kid's super depressed, one kid's super happy. It's just like luck of the draw, right? But it's like, it's those cells that go into making you, and then they divide, and then they're just growing into a larger, happier, or more back painy or more depressed, larger collection of cells with the same consciousness. It's interesting too, because I think, and have you had anything where through some of this clearing, it's helped actually improve relationship with people in your family?
Oh yeah, big time. Like, because if you get these things healed from you that were passed down through the family line, they're healed through everyone, even
Yeah, exactly.
people that have already passed on in your family, like they get healed.
It goes like to the source, and the source goes through this is the shit where I think people get lost, where they're like, come on, that's ridiculous. And it sounds absurd, but a lot of the stuff that I have, it's a big chunk, and I'll try not to go into too much depth, but in the beginning, all the stuff that I was working on, it was like that top layer, like the tip of the iceberg stuff, was all on my mom's side, generations back, some from her, but like mostly just back. Like they were just, I think they had like a rough life. They were like immigrants from like Italy and Sicily. But so her and I have been getting along swimmingly, like it took a long time, but like I'm like, it's weird. Like this is actually like working. Like I'm seeing this happen, not like effortlessly. I'm not trying to improve it. But then I noticed the real deep stuff was from my dad's side. So once I kind of cleared the topical shit, then I somehow shifted to this other, and they had like some real deep stuff from like really far ago, like feelings of like unworthiness. And like my dad was like wanted to be an actor or like a dancer or something, but it was like his family was like really Southern, and they were like essentially like, what are you, gay, using a much more derogatory term. So he had to like bury all that and like try to be like a normal guy, but like, so never got to like live a life he wanted. So I think that had probably been permeated through his whole generationally whole thing. I got to remember to breathe. Sorry, I totally stepped on what you were saying.
No, 100%. You gave an example as well too. Like, yeah, the more people in your family that have it done, it heals everyone even stronger. So like, other members of my family, I won't say them specifics because I don't know if they want their business out there or whatever, but like it's definitely improved relationships. with them, and some of them have tried it and they didn't really like it, and it's like not for them or whatever. But me and a few others that have done it in my family, like, we're firm believers and have really noticed the difference. And just give you an example, like with my dad, we weren't really very close like growing up. My parents separated when I was younger, and I just didn't.
How old were you?
I think it was like 9 or so when they got divorced.
Okay.
And my dad just worked like a lot, so we'd see him like every other weekend, but he's always busy working, that sort of thing. So as I've gotten older, like, I don't know, we don't talk very often until recently. I would say before I started getting like energy work done, maybe once every 5 or 6 months, we might talk to each other on the phone. And we lived, usually like far away or out of state from each other. But once I started having energy work done, my dad like calls me pretty regularly. I'd say like once a month.
Damn, you just like
or
felt
pretty often
comfortable having that relationship. Like whatever was blocking.
Yeah.
You know
and
what I
some
mean?
of it for me was like things that maybe consciously I didn't think bothered me from being little. Subconsciously, those feelings of maybe like, I wish we had a stronger bond and relationship, that sort of thing, were there. So part of the energy work was like releasing those feelings as well as like past generational stuff. And by getting
how
that
is she
stuff out,
determining like the things? Are you like, because it sounds similar but also quite different.
So part of it is like, she would ask if it's permission to tap into your energy. And then I think part of it is that she can feel like in your energy of what's going on. And then also like getting messages from like past people in your family lineage, I think, of like, whether it's from, your like higher self or whatever, things that are, hey, this is important, that needs to be. Or it would be like, her main thing was, I notice you have something off here, or it's blocking your energy, like in your kidneys. Or I would specifically, if she's like, hey, do you have something to work on? I'm like, yeah, like I get like, even though I've had my tonsils removed because I used to have a lot of problems with them, I still get like swelling in that area, or like kind of like an ulcer, like a canker sore.
Yeah.
And then she'll have a book to reference and look up, and it'll be like, that part of your body is affected by these energetic things. And then she would tap in. It's like process of elimination of kind of like this finger sweep testing, to where if your finger breaks, I think is the thing. I forget if it's not. Yeah. Like basically testing the questions and then getting to the spot. And then part of the session too, she also did biofeedback, where it would hook you up to this computer system. It could check your whole aura and check like any minerals or vitamins, anything your body's deficient in, or
on
issues.
that, man? I've seen that stuff, and I went to a doctor who I actually did think was like a full-blown quack, and he used one of those, and I think it like sullied it for me. Like, did it seem pretty legit?
I think hers definitely was, because there would be like times that I would not, especially when I first started going, is when I had my son, so like wasn't getting a lot of sleep, and she could literally be like, oh yeah, I'm going to send you like the energy of this. You just literally, and she would test like slept for 32 hours, like what my body's telling her that it needs. And she would send me that energy, and I literally would feel like $1 million leaving that place. Like I just slept for that long, like full of energy and like healed up. It's crazy. And then you do affirmations were part of it. But the biofeedback I thought was really good, because while she's doing the energy work, the biofeedback is helping like all the kind of like, I guess, scientific things in your body as far as minerals and things you're deficient in. It's literally just sending you the energy of those. So you don't even need to take those vitamins, nothing, like you're good.
Get the F out.
Literally.
See, that's the stuff where it's like, it's so funny, because I'm like, yeah, I let this lady like talk to me and clear the cells of my consciousness and my consciousness of my ancestors. But then I'm like, oh, a machine that sends you minerals from biofeedback, that's crazy. Like, it's so funny how there's this spectrum of like what we're willing to accept, but you have proof of concept because you've done it. So like you know what I mean? It's just, I find that so amusing, like how far down the spectrum someone's willing to accept.
And the biofeedback machine itself, she would show me some of the, like, it would do like an image, an aura, your aura of your body. And it would be colors based on like whether it's flowing properly or not. And there'd be sometimes you could literally see like blobs in there. Sometimes they're white, which is good, like a kind of like a good energy around you, maybe like a guardian angel or something like that. And then sometimes you get like black blobs or mist or like things that aren't supposed to be in there. And there was times where I would go in there where I'm like, I'm exhausted. I don't feel good. I'm having like really bad like nightmares at night sleeping or whatever. And that energy stuff would be in there. And I won't get into details of where some of these things were coming from other people. Because some people can send you these things and intentionally like send.
I've heard that there's also like
you.
unintentional curses. Like, someone could like be like mad at you and, or like, you know, like we work in sales. So it's like, someone could even be like, F that guy. He's always like doing so much better than me. Oh, I hope he fails. And then like, they don't know it, but like, I don't know how to put a curse on someone, but I'm just riffing here. And then like, you get like a negative energy hooked on you just from
100%.
Someone pulling in like their intention into a negative thought towards you. And not to say people should be afraid of that. Like, oh God, like my life's going to end. Like, but it can happen.
Yeah. And it's not like something like the movie Poltergeist or something wild like that. It's literally small things that you just feel exhausted, tired, like your body just feels sore. Like a lot of little things can affect you, or like you'll feel like, oh, I'm having like bad luck the last like couple of days, like stubbed my toe and all these things like that. Is because that crap is like in your energy field. So having those removed and then seeing the after, like showing the after picture of it gone, like after we do some affirmations and some things like, and you can just feel how different you feel, if that makes sense, like your mood and energy and everything.
Yeah. I'm always on like an extreme, like cloud nine after the sessions I do. And I'm like usually overwhelmed by this just feeling of like,
it's like a dopamine almost.
Yeah. It's like that plus like turbo zen. Like I'm like, good. Just like freaking good. And then actually, once you kind of get into some of the deeper stuff, like we did this whole thing where it was like, I went in and I just like stream of consciousness, like brain dumped like all the negative beliefs I have about myself. And then we did a whole session around the like essentially replacing it with the opposite beliefs. And it like wrecked me. Like I was exhausted afterwards. Like I slept for like 12 hours that night. I mean, I felt incredible. That was really powerful. In fact, I forgot about that. It's funny though, because it's like you adapt to the new normal so quickly, and then you find like new problems to fix. But if you when you look back, it's like night and day. Like I'm a completely, I don't want to say completely different person, but I'm a much more improved version of myself from the time I started that to, you know, where I am now. Like I don't even need to do sessions that frequently anymore.
100%. I agree with what you're saying. And like, that would be the same thing for me too. Like you feel really good when you leave, but then like later, like an hour or two after, you're just exhausted, because even if you don't feel like you're doing a lot subconsciously and energetically, you're doing a lot of work and a lot of changes, and it wears you out and it drains you, and you have to recover. But if people had listened to our first episode, or you want to go back and listen to about like how everything is energy, like in the world and everything you say, I think that will help this episode make more sense, or maybe people would be more open to getting this. And like, I'm sure a lot of people have heard the term energy vampires, right? Yep. Joe, I'm sure you've had your bout with them. It's the same type of thing as like kind of that black blob stuff getting in your aura. Like energy vampires are the same thing, or people can like connect cords to you even unintentionally, just someone you spend a lot of time with or talk to a lot, like their negative beliefs and things like that, like can kind of mesh into yours. So having that stuff cleared and cutting your cords, it makes a big difference.
Dude, and that's like today, actually, somebody called me that I'm like, why the fuck are you calling me? It was like 7:30, and I was like doing my morning routine. And I'm like, why are you calling me? It's early as shit. And I said it like a little nice way, but like they're just like neediness and like irreverence for like proper timing in my personal space. I was like, ugh, you're trying to like sap something from me. Like, what do you need?
Did you interact with them, or did you ignore
to avoid
him?
Huh?
Did you interact with them, or you ignored them?
I just said, what's up? You know, like something like, hey, what's up? It's really early. Why are you calling me?
Did you put your shield up?
It was a very benign and non-necessary call. I made it clear, like, don't call me this early, like nicely, like, what the fuck are you doing? Right. But like, there's someone in my family who is like on the opposite spectrum of like my beliefs. They're like the like, it's just like someone who has dealt with a lot of adversity. So their mind has been like warped into being like the hero for the underdog / like loser / like below common man. And it's so fucking depressing. I'm like, how can you live your life with these beliefs? And then like, why are you talking to me about it? Like, don't want to talk about that. It's so depressing. And they'll just like suck every last bit of my energy out of me. And like, I remember there was a day I spent like an entire day with this person, and I was like so depressed the next like couple of days. I had to like do some like of my own, like, okay, like gotta get back in my like headspace. But you know, I think depending on how much of an empath you are, which I kind of unfortunately am, good and bad, you just have to be careful. Like if someone like that it wants to come around in your reality, you just really, really gotta be mindful of that for sure.
Well, one, yeah, try to avoid people in your life that are like that as much as possible. But obviously, people are in circumstances where you can't always do that. But then the other thing is you got to put your shield up before, like, if you see someone calling, you're like, oh man, like someone you just got to be like, all right, shield up, right? And it's like we talked about before. You just imagine like kind of this protective bubble going over
Force
you.
field,
and only like
like
good things can pass in and out.
Middle of my forehead. I'm like, shield
there
up.
you go.
Yeah.
And it sounds
to do
silly,
that sometimes,
but it makes a big difference.
It's weird that stuff like that works. And like, it's one of those things where you just suspend the science. Like if it works, don't worry about why, like just do it. Like at the end of the day, you're not going to look back and go, wow, how did I get to where I am? Like, what was the science behind it? You're going to be like, sweet, that worked. Now I am happy or whatever, you know? One thing I think too, for people that are a little more dogmatic with the science, there's something called neurofeedback, and it's really popular amongst pro athletes and like CEOs, high level executives, et cetera, entrepreneurs. Tony Robbins talks about it a lot, but essentially what they do is they actually map your brain. And these are like actually like FDA approved, like full blown science backed stuff. Map your brain. They see what the frequencies are of all of your lobes. And then based on where they're at, they seek to upregulate and downregulate certain areas to like the optimum level for performance. And it's a actual FDA approved treatment for like anxiety, ADD. Like a lot of kids do it for ADD. It's like a non-stimulant pill form. And I did it for about a year. And I was like, it fucking worked. Like I was like, I felt so good. I had like no anxiety. You maintain the gains, but like I probably lost some of it. But let's say I was at like an A. Now I'm at maybe like a B just because I stopped doing it. But like some of it is permanent. That's one thing that's a good way for people to get into something like this. And they can feel like a little better because it's like done by a doctor, like a science doctor. Have you ever done that or like heard of that?
I have heard of that, but I have not done it. No.
It's pretty cool. It's expensive, but I think all this shit, depending, is like stuff out of pocket. But it's, at the end of the day, it's like, what is the cost of, what is your price for happiness and success? It's like,
exactly.
Can you put a price on it?
And I would say, as far as like, what's the worst that happens if you take the chance to try it, right? Like you lose an hour of your time and a little bit of money. And I feel like for what you get out of it and the cost versus the impact, it's the most beneficial at all you can do. Because like you've said, like, you've done like courses where you hire, like life coaches, that sort of thing, business coaches to work on that stuff. Some of that stuff's expensive. Like we're talking thousands of dollars for these people's time. Like to go pay maybe $100, $200 to have the energy work session done, and what you get out of it, it's like
that's a good point. All those coaches are way more expensive.
Humongous. Yeah.
I used to pay $1,000 a month to retain this guy to meet like once a week, and like it fucking sucked. I had a handful of coaches. Some were actually really helpful, but like it's like it's so relative. It's like it's like some guys like my rate's $1,000. Some guys like my rate's $10,000. Does that mean one's better than the other? I don't know.
Yeah, guys like Tony Robbins, it's like to get private coaching from them, it's like $1 million for like 6
Dude,
months.
he doesn't even have an hourly rate. It's all his personal clients give him a percentage of their annual income. Like, but that if they think it's worth it, these are probably 7-figure plus income guys.
Yep.
And if they're willing to give him a percentage of their income because they think he's going to make them that much more successful, that guy's obviously doing something good.
Well, and people look at it as an investment, right? It's the same thing. Like you invest in yourself also. And this is part of that, whether it's like eating healthy, working out, you're investing in yourself. This is the same thing. Like you're investing in yourself, like energetically, spiritually. And another benefit by having these things done and worked on. And my ex also would get sessions, like we would both take turns going. And right when my son, before he was born and then after he's born. So by eliminating all this generational stuff, he's not carrying any of that forward with him.
Oh, wow.
From both sides of our family. We shut all that down.
So it goes both ways?
Yes. Once it's ended, it breaks the chain and everyone's healed up and down the line from where it started. So if it goes back like 50 generations in your family, everyone from like the lowest person in the line all the way up to the 50 like generations ago is healed from that thing.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
He's not going to have any of these blocks or like patterns or behaviors or subconscious things that were embedded in us that just got passed down our family lines. Like all that stuff's been fixed.
That's so, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Both ways. That's so cool. It's almost like altruistic. All right. If you could, would you ever want to be like a Tony Robbins level guru? Like if you like, would that ever interest you? Like do like those freaking like seminars and you're like up there and you're like, and then like all doing the videos and whatever.
I think I might be into that. Like I enjoy helping people as well as like, you know, if people are having problems figuring out like situation in life. And I don't mean like crying about your drama. I mean like a real life, like time management or like investing or something like that. Like I love kind of like coming up with outside that box ideas to help people in that way. So I think that would really interest me as far as the, like, I don't know, I'm not really like a rah-rah type of person. So I don't know if that aspect of it, but you know, we could find somebody else who's
that'd be cool.
Enjoys that.
Yeah, I like that. Like you're like essentially like saying within your own personality, you would want to, like, you don't have to be like a rah-rah, like power within guy. Like you can be a teacher, a helper, a guru at a high level and just, you don't have to like jump around and like clap your hands on trampolines and walk on fire.
What about you?
I feel like cool.
I feel like your personality is really fit to that. Like
I would love to do that
really well.
I feel like there's just like that one thing. It's like there's so much fear of like imagining yourself doing something at that level. You know, like I'm sure he was like scared at first. Like that dude started doing that when he was like 19. Like he was like on it, man. Like who's the guy who wrote Think and Grow Rich? Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
So Napoleon Hill, what was his name? So the guy who was Tony Robbins' mentor was like the guy who like studied from Napoleon Hill, and he's like Napoleon Hill's like the father of self-help, but like this next guy, and W. Clement Stone, W. Clement something, and he's the guy who like made it like live events and like videos and like blew it up. Like he like brought it to like public stream, and then Tony Robbins obviously blew it the hell up. But that was like Tony Robbins' mentor, and I don't know how the hell he did it, but like it freaking worked. I feel like if you learn success principles like that at that age and you believe it without a shadow of a doubt, and then you get like proof of concept, it's so easy for your mind to just go, yes, this works. And then, you know what I mean? Like you go through life and you have these like things happen and you're like, oh, life's hard. And then like you have to replace those shitty things to like be successful. Whereas if you never really had those, or if you're young enough to still be like permeated by them, you can just be so redonkulously successful.
And then add on top of that, if you realize manifestation is a thing.
Oh,
Especially as kids, like they don't have those blockers yet. And that's why their imagination, and they're so creative, they imagine stuff all the time. So then if they're like, what? Manifestation's a thing? And I don't have these blockers that were passed on to me from generation to generation, like you're going to go crush it, basically, right? Anything you do.
how old were you when you found out about all that stuff? I feel like that wasn't really a thing till we were like a little, not older, but like I didn't know about that shit till like The Secret came out.
I think like when I was probably in my early teens, I
What turned
started
you onto it?
realizing, but I had no idea what it was or that it was even a thing. I was just like, oh, if I like want something like bad and I'm like, yes, I want that thing. And then I just like mention or think about it, but then forget about it and move on. Like it'll happen. And it was
How'd
kind
you
of
put
like
that together?
trialing and error.
That's pretty cool.
Some of the examples I've shared before, like things just started like happening. I'd be like, whoa, that was like kind of interesting. And then
And
I
then
did
what, you like reverse engineered it and connect the dots essentially?
a little bit. And then I was like, oh, I don't really believe in coincidences or they'd be strange things. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, is this happening? Like, I think you're like kind of a kid and you're like, oh, do I have a secret power? Is this my secret power or whatever?
Oh, okay.
And then my mom had like, I think watched The Secret and like sent me the link to the video. And I watched that and I was in my early 20s, I think, when I saw that.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I was like,
it was
oh
like-
my God, like this is what I've been doing. I didn't even know it was a thing. Like, oh, this answers those questions and that question. And
God, that's so lucky, dude. That's so neat that you stumbled on that.
but because of all the other like blockages and patterns and things you learn and like stuff you get taught growing up from like all different sources, it was still having, even though I had examples of things that happened and like believed in it, I would still have doubts or times where I'm like, oh, this isn't working or whatever. So
It's like that
it's still
scene
stuff
with,
you got to battle.
Yeah, it's essentially the scene on Endor where Yoda is training Luke, and Luke can like pick up rocks. He like moves up to like picking up R2-D2, and then he's all right, pick up the ship. And then
Yeah,
Luke's like,
exactly. So for me,
fucking got
lifting the
this.
ship out of the water is like manifesting like huge passive income wealth.
it's the
I
stuff that
haven't-
like,
but I'm still
you can
at,
tell
like-
yourself.
Yeah, like rocks, like for me, like food items and small things, I'm just like all day. For me, parking space is not a problem. But for whatever reason, and now see this part of it, right? So now it's not a problem. Now I can do that all day, no problem, big stuff, easy.
Right.
So I just have to keep saying and being that way, and it's going to come. Just
Exactly.
Patience is
It's-
also part of it.
It slowly goes up the staircase, right? Like things that I now am like easy were challenging a year ago, so there's still stuff that like same thing, like I'm like telling myself I believe it and I'm like reassuring myself, but it's like the jump from like I can jump from here, this thing. So say I'm at this level now, I know I can jump to this level, but this is the level I want to be at. And my brain's like that cognitive dissonance. I'm like, I can't lift the X-Wing.
It's like
They're
climbing
like,
a ladder,
it is in
right?
theory the same thing, but it's like getting yourself to believe it's the same thing is the challenge.
Exactly. Or that like, it says manifesting $1 million is the same effort as manifesting a pencil.
Yeah.
You just have to realize that is actually the case and like believe it and it'll happen. And even though some of those bigger things I want haven't manifested yet, things have manifested that I feel like are putting me in positions and situations
line,
through
yeah.
investing to where I'm like, oh, it's coming. And these investment things, it's like the little bits and pieces all of a sudden will come to me, or someone will mention something or I'll hear something. And then when I go start looking into that, I'm like, oh, kind of like XRP, that I'm like, all right, like, this is the path to get to that thing. And outside forces are helping guide me
Do you think
to that direction.
So do you think that because the effort, okay, let's use the pencil and the $1 million. Do you think pencil's easier, faster because less things need to line up? So is it essentially just using the same amount of energy to get the big thing, but just for a longer and more sustained period of time because more things need to line up.
I think, yes, you're onto it 100% because like, oh, I'm going to get a parking space like right in front of the business or store I'm going to, right? Well, one, examples of that have happened already like several times. So for me, I'm like proof of concept, proof of work. It's happened. And then the other part of, like you said, like there's not a lot that needs to happen. There just has to be an open space, right? But if you're trying to manifest something on a much larger scale, like you said, like things would have to fall into place for that to kind of line up, right? Like, so it's more of a longer process and more things involved. And part of it is also like, even though you can believe and want it, maybe energetically you're just not ready yet. That there may be some other blockage, like on, I don't know if it was last episode or the one before that where we were talking about, and you were saying like, oh, I started thinking like, oh my gosh, like what if all of a sudden overnight, you know, my investment's paid off and all of a sudden I have all these millions, and you're like, I got panicked a little bit. Like I was like, oh, I haven't thought about any of this. That could be a blockage, right? That's like preventing from happening, that the universe is like, oh, there's money coming to you, but we're going to wait a couple months, because if we gave it to you now, like you would like panic or like be worried.
It's not going to make you feel the way that you want it to.
But when you thought it through and you're more like calm and you're like, hell yeah, like I got a plan, I'm ready now. Bam.
Interesting. Yeah. I think this is like a micro aha moment for me. It's like, and what might make it harder is because, like you said, the parking space, you just need someone to like be leaving, or just someone didn't show up or whatever. It's not busy that day. But with the big thing, it's because there's a more of a, let's say in theory, there's more things that need to line up. So in theory, there's just a little bit more of a time delay. So all those things are lining up for you. There's more of an opportunity for like the doubt to creep in or for the consistency to fall off. So in theory, if you just kept that same level of I know like the parking space for just an extended period of time, there's no reason why it wouldn't come true.
Just like I forget the gal's name that talks about the vortex. You had talked about
Esther Hicks.
Yeah, so with Esther, she's saying the same thing.
Or did you listen to that book?
We listened to the audio.
Dude,
book.
her fucking voice. I just got that book and I returned it because I was like,
oh, you didn't like it?
Oh my God, her narration, like they should have got like a professional narrator, because I was like, this is such good info, but I couldn't stand her droning on. No offense to Esther and Jerry Hicks, they're great.
Well, there's a lot of YouTube videos that are free that people have taken and put kind of like cartoon characters that look like her and match with the voice.
That's
they'll
what
be
I
like
need to
15
do.
minutes
Okay.
long, to where it's like one specific segment or lesson that you'll learn. So those are really cool. I used to listen to them.
You were about to talk about the vortex.
Why I was like cleaning the house or something, like sweeping, mopping, like our old house, and be like, all right, this is going to take like an hour. Like I'm going to listen to a couple of these Esther things or whatever.
Okay.
And they would kind of be like, aha, like you get a nugget from each one, and you just kind of slowly keep adjusting the way you think about it and kind of go at it like a strategy in a game, right? You learn like another rule, and then you're like, oh, okay, let me adjust my game plan and strategy with this new information I have. But I just look at it as like, do you try to be in the vortex or be in a good positive mood as much as you can and not worry about how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen? You just keep putting in the energetic effort as well as the actual physical effort. Like you can't just sit on the couch all day. But if your idea is like, I'm gonna get promoted, I'm gonna get these, like move up the chain at work, we got to put the work in at work, but also being the positive and manifesting these things. It's going to happen. Those things will fall into place and work out, and you'll be like, wow, that was easy. Like there was no roadblocks and that sort of thing. So that's the way I look at it and feel about it.
How long are you supposed to stay in the vortex? Like what's the rule on the vortex?
I think she said it was like 60 seconds or something like that. Like you get into where
every day you're supposed to spend X amount of time in the vortex.
I don't know if it had to be daily. It's when you're placing an order to the universe of something you would like, you have to get into your vortex, that mood where you feel like very light and the positivity, and like even to where maybe you feel a little vibration in your body. And that's when you just then start imagining that item or the thing or like promotion or whatever you want relationship to happen. And just imagine being that and how it make you feel, and you're already in like a very great mood at like a very high vibrational energy.
Mhm.
So when you place that order, it's like ready, like you placed it in like the right mood, I guess, right? Like you at the front of the
Yeah,
line
it's
on
got
the
more,
Black
like,
Friday to
behind
get
it
into
if
the
you,
store
like-
to get the TV you want. If you're in a
Yeah.
shitty mood, you're at the back like 300 deep and there's only 2 TVs. Like you ain't getting what you want, or it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, or you leave with like a CRT, like tube TV, or like maybe like, oh god, dude, we had a 50-inch. It was a 50-inch Sony flat tube TV in my house in college. It was like, though, someone like left it there when they moved because they were like, "Fuck it, this thing's too big." It was over 250 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, remember the square TVs?
Mm-hmm.
It was a giant square. So remember when we sold it, it was one of those things where we were like, dude, we just need someone to like pick this up. Maybe we can like get some money. I think we sold it for like $50.
Ugh.
Probably less, who knows? But I had to help this guy carry it to his truck, and I'm like pretty decently strong human being. And this guy was like a 9,000-year-old hillbilly, but he had that like farm strength. Like he looked
Country
like he was
strong.
about to die, but he could like carry a car over his head. I almost dropped this thing. He's like, dude, all right, stop. Just put it in the truck bed. We were like trying to get it to the door, and I like couldn't make it. So we just like slid it into his truck bed.
Ugh.
The thing was nuts. But yeah, I think the big thing is most people spend so little time consciously thinking about what they want that it's important to spend time in this vortex or whatever order space when you are thinking actively about what you want, holding the image, feeling good about it, because most people just live their life on like this default go.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just go one day to the next, one day to the next. I feel good today. I feel bad today. Oh, I got toothpaste on my shirt. Oh, cool. I found $1. And it's like nothing happens. You just slowly kind of stay the same, or maybe slowly move towards your goal.
So what would
And that's kind of a way I think, oh shit, my microphone went crazy. To just and it's like, it gets you clear on what you want. Like, even if you don't believe in law of attraction and energy and all that shit, if you're holding in your mind's eye what you want and you're feeling good about it, you're going to move towards it just subconsciously or just by your actions.
I agree. Yeah, you're dead on. What would be your one, I guess, kind of takeaway encompassing energy work and, what we've been talking about manifesting for people? What would be the biggest nugget?
Thing is, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what would be the biggest nugget for them to take away from this episode, in your opinion?
For me, it's, I think it's just find the thing that you're comfortable with, like entering into the space, right? Like you could just read about it. You could watch a YouTube video about it, but like figure out a way to suspend your disbelief and just try something new. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. But like, don't ever like leave anything on the table that could possibly help if you want to get to where you want to go faster. What would yours be?
I agree with what you said. To that, I would add, it's very, like, just be willing to give it a try, right? Like, you don't really have anything to lose. It's very easy to get bogged down. And a lot of people, I feel like, are just in survival mode, paycheck to paycheck. Like, they're exhausted at the end of the day. They get home, they just want to like veg out and not think. And you just get stuck on that treadmill, that kind of, rat race, repetitive over and over again. You don't have time to just sit down and like, and kind of clear your thoughts and really try to have like that, get that positive, good vibration to start putting some of these energies and thoughts and like ideas out there to help start bettering your life and your circumstances. Right. Because if you believe that like you're in control of everything and everything that's happened in life, you've manifested towards yourself, which some people really get upset when you say that, because they're like, this really bad thing happened to me. Like, I would have never wanted that to happen to me. And I think Esther discusses this too, because people have asked her this at some of the conferences, like, and her take from channeling that is basically like, you're just at a low vibration energy, like in a bad like mood or whatever. You didn't want that thing, but when you're at these vibrational levels, these things happen is kind of the way it was explained away. When you start getting at a very higher level of vibrational energies, an energy vampire or someone like that coming at you, it's not going to do anything to you. It's like a mosquito trying to bite a rhino. The skin is so thick, it doesn't do anything. So that would be my biggest
Big
takeaway.
thing with that is the taking responsibility for everything that happens to you. Is everything your fault? I mean, in reality, no. But if you sit in a place of, I am in control and in charge of everything that enters my reality, no matter what, then you're always in a position of power. You're always in control and you're never a victim. So it's so important to think of things as your responsibility. Anything that happens to me, because even if it's something someone else is doing or a thing that happened that you, in theory, have no control over, it makes you get creative with solutions. Like, okay, how can I make this better? How can I do better? Like, what can I do to make this better? And sometimes it's just not be around the person or situation. But yeah, I think that is gold. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. And I'll just add real quick on that before we wrap it up and get out of here. It's like you can find people who are born in similar circumstances to like really shitty life circumstances. And like you said, it's mindset. One is like stuck there, nothing changes, and there's more of like poor me and the victim, and you get stuck in that loop. And the other is like, F this, like I'm in charge of what happens to me. Like I'm getting out of this situation. And those people go and get out of, whatever bad environment they're in, and they go and become successful and do like things they're going to do. And people be like, oh, that person got lucky. Well, you could look at it as luck and coincidence, or you could look at it as like they're putting in the work, but they're also manifesting in positive mindset to where things are also falling into place for them to make their journey easier. Not that the journey's easy, but easier. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's well said. Absolutely.
Do you have a joke at all before we get out of here and wrap it up? If you don't, I have one off the top of my head that I heard the other day.
I should be Gavin. I gotta like have my echo like tell me a joke. Maybe I can like put the echo up to the thing here.
What happened to the frog that's car was broken down on the side of the road?
What?
He got towed.
Oh, I heard an awesome one the other day and I can't think of it. And I'm not gonna remember it. Have I ever told the joke about the grasshopper?
I don't think so.
So a grasshopper walks into a bar and the bartender goes, "We're sorry, we don't serve your kind here." And he goes, "You don't serve people named Steve?" That's terrible.
All right. Well, this has been episode 10. We appreciate everyone who's been listening. If you're new to the show, please like and subscribe. Go back, check out some of the other episodes, and leave a comment down below. Like, we would love to answer any questions or feedback. Or if you've tried any of these things from any of the episodes, share what's happened, like good or bad. And, we'll see you on episode 11. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.